Learning Online. This is our first session of our series. Don't worry, we're not starting yet. We're just getting things kind of set up, making sure that we can share our feed to all the different counties. Just wanted to get everyone kind of up to date on what we're doing and where we're going and what we're going to end up doing with this project. So again, this is the 4-H Live Online Learning Series. Anyone is welcome. This is not just for 4-H youth. This is for all states, all of Missourians, even further across the globe if we ever get to that. Again, you don't have to attend if you're, you can attend if you're not in 4-H. In addition, this is an additional component to our traditional project meetings. So if you're a project leader out there, certainly don't get discouraged. This is just to help add on to that. We still want you having and hosting your project sessions. Again, for anyone tuning in or looking in, this is just a welcoming. We're not starting yet. We'll get started at 3:30. As we get going throughout the weeks, we do plan to do this through May 15th or later. We'll kind of just see how things shake out and what kind of programming we need. We'll be doing all sorts of topics, everything from animals and outdoor activities to nutrition, a lot of different components, a lot of different projects that kids could get engaged with and be interested with. So we really are excited to get to do this. It'll be about 20-30 minutes every Tuesday through Thursday is our plan. Lots of different topics, lots of different ways that kids can get involved, get engaged. So we'll get started around 3:30. Again, we're just going to get this shared out to our different counties. As far as age ranges, we did want to mention that this is meant for any age range that 4-H could be a part of, everywhere from 5 years old to 18. The younger kids might need some help from adults for some of our activities, just to let you know about that. The older kids, you might want to help out some of the younger kids. Some of this might seem a little like it would be for the younger kids to learn, but you have a lot to learn from this as well. You should always be keeping your eyes open, your ears open for demonstration topics, for public speaking topics, for things that you might be able to do for future projects as well. So definitely keep that in mind. So again, this will be for all ages, for all youth. You don't have to be a part of 4-H to be a part of our online learning series. We aren't getting started yet for anyone that's just kind of viewing. We're just making sure that everything's going, that we can share with all our different counties, and we'll go from there. If you have any questions during this live session, feel free to write us a comment. We've got a few different specialists that are watching the different counties, so hopefully we'll be able to respond to any of those in real time. If you have a question after our live feed, please reach out to us via Facebook. We are happy to answer any questions, happy to provide more programming if that's something that you all are interested in. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a list of some of our topics we'll be covering in the immediate future. For the long term, for those who just tuned in, we're looking at doing this through May 15th or later, covering things like animals and outdoor activities and nutrition, lots of things that are hands-on for our kids. So just one final reminder that you do not have to be in 4-H to be a part of this. We are happy to have anyone from Missouri, from any other states. If we get throughout the world, awesome. That would be so cool. We are really excited to have all of you. We hope you continue to engage with your project leaders as they move to some of their online platforms. We are just absolutely excited to be here with you. We'll get started here in a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and share this to our other county pages. Feel free to share amongst whoever you think might be interested. We'll get started on our topic today of matter and ice cream here in a little bit. Thanks. Well, hello everyone. It looks like we've hit 3:30, so we will go ahead and get started with our very exciting and very new 4-H Live online learning. If you have any questions, just want to start off from the very top, feel free to write them in those comment boxes. We've got specialists watching them from the different counties, so if you have any questions, feel free to write them in there, or pop over to the MU Extension 4-H at Saline County homepage, and I'll be able to see them as we're going through our session. Welcome you all to our session. Just want to remind everyone that you certainly do not have to be a part of 4-H to enjoy our learning activity today. Our topic for today is on matter and ice cream, so we'll be talking about both a little bit. If you have any questions kind of about logistics and things like what we'll be doing in the future, age ranges, any other kind of questions along that, we covered some of that about 15 minutes ago when we started the live feed. So once we post this video, it'll become like a normal video, any other video, and you can rewind and go listen to some of that. So if you have some questions, you can go find that out as well. But like I said, today's topic is matter and ice cream, so we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So, all right, here's a question. I know I'm not in the room with all the kiddos, but I know they're going to have an answer to this. Who has had ice cream? Raise your hand. I know I can't see you, but raise your hand if you've had ice cream before. All right, so think about what some of your favorite ice creams might be. Everything from chocolate to vanilla. Maybe you're like me and you like something with fruit in it. I like cherries or strawberries in mine. We all have a favorite ice cream. So I figured this would be a good session to start off with about talking about what is ice cream, how do we make it, and importantly, how do we connect it to food science and things like matter. Who's heard the word matter? Do we know what that means? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about how those two topics of matter and ice cream, what they have in common today. So let's go ahead and find out. All right, so we're going to start with the states of matter. Some of you might have heard of these before, but there's technically 4. We're going to talk about 3 of them today. So the first one, our first state of matter, is a solid. So solids are like this. They're hard. They maintain a fixed volume and a fixed shape. So kind of like my bowling ball here. I can't squish it. I can't really pull it apart. I'm not going to change its volume, and I'm not going to really change its shape. I can't do much to do either one of those. The other important thing about a solid is that the particles, the really tiny things that we can't really see with the naked eye, are very, very close together. So that means they're not moving very much. They're really hard, they're really close together. So that's a solid. Our next one is a liquid. So it's something like what I've got in here, just some normal water. You can see inside of my glass, it's moving there. Water, or liquids in general, are important because they're a fixed volume. The volume of water in this cup isn't going to change by going up and down. However, its shape is going to stay exactly like what's inside of this cup. Now, unique thing about liquid, though, is I can take it and I can pour it into another container, just like this. So you'll have poured water before. You can pour water from one container to the next. So not necessarily will our water change amounts, but it will change its container. So this is a different shape than this container is. So with liquids, we can change its shape, but we can't change its volume. Now our final one that we're going to cover today is a gas. All right, so this one's a little bit trickier because we can't usually see a gas. We can sometimes if maybe it's got a color to it or if it's moving, but it's a little more difficult to see a gas. So this state is a little more tricky for some of us to get. It's also tricky because gas doesn't necessarily occupy a given volume or a space. Right now, though, I've got gas all around me in our air. However, if I were to push it into the next room, get all of this air, this gas into the next room, that's going to be a different shape. And it might be a different volume. We might be able to either compress or expand that gas. So here's an example of that to help you remember what a gas is. We've got our balloon, and I'm going to take the air from my lungs and put it into this balloon here. So this is one you can do at home if you've got a balloon. Now I'm going to tie it off. Oh, this was never something I was good at. Let's see if I can get it this time. So I'm going to tie off the balloon. We've got a gas in here. It occupies this volume right now, but if I were able to smush it or expand it, my gas would occupy different volumes. It also occupies different shapes. I can smush this down, I can smush it around. That's a different shape than this is, different things like that, okay? So a gas, the important part to think about that too, is these particles move really fast because they have a lot of space between them. So that's the big difference between our 3 different phases of matter. We've got our gas, where our particles move really, really fast. We've got our liquid, where our particles, they're further apart, they're not moving too quickly. And then we've got our solid, where our particles are really close together, which means that they're not moving too fast, and that's what makes it really solid. Okay, so for those of you at home, and maybe for parents that are tuning in, a fun game you could always think about is if we've got 3 different phases of liquids, or 3 different phases of matter, how might we be able to, kind of have a hands-on learning to remember those different ones? Well, I like to think of solid. So solid means their particles aren't moving very fast. When someone yells solid, we stand still. Try not to move at all, just like our particles in our solid. If someone says liquid, where our particles are kind of moving slowly, we walk around, we just kind of pace around a little bit. And then when someone yells gas, we're going to be like our air inside of our balloon, and we're going to run really fast. So if you want to run out some of the energy of your kids, this is a great exercise to do. You can yell gas, and they need to run. Liquid, and they need to walk around. And solid, they got to stand as still as they can, as quickly as they can. And they're mimicking the particles that are inside of those different states of matter. All right, so now what happens when we mix these states? Because we don't always just have one state by itself. We don't always have just one thing by itself. So a mixture is 2 or more different items mixed together. So you might think of these with salads. Maybe some of you had a salad today. A salad has maybe some lettuce and tomatoes, cucumbers, some cheese. But say you wanted to pick out the tomatoes. You could do that pretty easily. You could take those tomatoes out. But what if you had chocolate milk this morning? If you had chocolate milk, there's a chance that you took a solid and put it into a liquid. Now what happened when you mix those things together? Well, let's see. So I've got here a liquid. So our water might be just like your milk that you had this morning. And then I've got a solid. So these are little granules of solid. This is our chocolate mix, or for me it's a creamer, a chocolate creamer that goes into my coffee every morning. So we're going to pour these 2 together. So we're taking this solid, put it inside this liquid. Okay. So now we can see we've still got the little particles on top. Now we're going to mix them up a little bit. Let's get to mixing. So next time you ask for milk and chocolate milk, when you pour your solids into your milk, you can teach your parents about how you are dissolving a solid into a liquid. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening. All right, so first, what do we notice? We notice that it's getting a little bit darker. It's not our clear water that we had before, just like it would be not our clear milk that we had before. That would be turning a different color. We can also start to see that a lot of those particles, let's see how close I can get it to the camera here. A lot of those particles have dissolved. We've got a few left in there still, but mostly because I just didn't stir it enough. But our solids have now dissolved into our liquid. That's what happened if you made chocolate milk this morning too. Those kind of mixed together, and now we've got one liquid all together. All right, now how easy is it to separate our chocolate milk? Can I get that chocolate particle back out of my milk or my water very easily? No. So some of our mixtures are really easy to separate. Some of them are very difficult. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about mixtures and the different states that are involved. All right, so I said we're going to talk about ice cream today, and boy, we are going to talk about some ice cream. So this all has to do with what happens if we're moving from one state of matter to another. Now what I did there was I mixed things together, added some energy to it, and then it all became liquid. Now what happens if we add temperature changes to our matter? What's going to happen then? Well, I bet you all have experienced this one before. So say you've been eating some ice cream and you are holding it outside and it starts to get a little hot. What happens to that ice cream? Does it stay just like it is? No, probably not. It usually will start to melt a little bit. So it'll start to melt, and what happens when it melts? It turns into a liquid. So we're going from a solid state, we're adding heat, and out comes our liquid state. In other words, we are taking our solid, we're speeding up those particles, because remember we said if we're solid, we stand really still. But if we add heat, we're starting to speed up, and that makes us become a liquid. Now, if we kept adding more and more heat, we could eventually turn that liquid into a gas, which is what you have happen when, say, you boil water. Now, what happens if we do the opposite? If we take solids and we add cold temperature, we slow down those particles. So we're going from our liquid phase and then stopping into our solid. We're going to create a solid by adding some cold temperature. So we are going to do that today. So let's go ahead and get our materials ready. So an important part of science, whether that's food science or physics or chemistry or any kind of discipline that you're talking about, biology, it's always really important to make sure that you've got all of your materials kind of lined up, a good idea of what you're going to do, and then go ahead and do it. So we posted our materials in the comments, and we'll continue to do that in future ones as much as possible. We'll try and give you a few days heads up, so in case you do need to grab, a little bit of sugar from a neighbor, give them a heads up and, make sure you're getting that from their doorstep and not directly from them. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our items. So first, we're going to need 2 baggies, our sandwich bag and our bigger bag. I think you can use a quart if you want, just as long as you got 2 different sizes bags. We've got our measuring tools, which are going to be some measuring cups, as well as some measuring spoons. And then we've got our different ingredients for food. So today I've got some heavy whipping cream. You can also use milk if that's what you have in hand. That's no problem. We've got sugar. We've got some vanilla. Your vanilla might also be a darker color, and that's okay, no problem there. And then I've also got some chocolate syrup. Whoop. You can use chocolate syrup, you could use mint flavoring. Since today is St. Patrick's Day, some people had mentioned you could even put in some food coloring and make your ice cream green. Or maybe you're a really big fan of 4-H, and in that case, put in some green dye as well. So feel free to add whatever you want, whatever you have on hand. If you don't have anything, we're going to put some vanilla into the ice cream, so it's going to taste pretty good there too. Lastly, though this isn't going to go into our ice cream, is going to be some salt. All right, the bigger granule salt you can get, the better, but our finer stuff will work just fine too. All right, so we're going to get ourselves started. We're going to take our measuring cups. We're going to take our 1 cup. So you can see there, maybe we can see that on there. It says 1 cup. So that's usually our biggest cup in our set of 4 or 5. You might need an adult's help in pouring some of this because some of this will be a little difficult sometimes. So take your measuring cup. We're going to open up our small bag. Maybe you need a partner's assistance in holding this open. We're going to pour 1 cup of our milk or heavy cream. Open that up. Okay, so we're going to pour that in. Notice that's a liquid because we're able to pour it. That means our particles are not close together, but they're not too far apart. Okay, so we've got our cup full of heavy cream or milk. So go ahead and dump that into our bag. It's okay if you spill a little bit. That's all right. We have paper towels so we can wipe that up. Okay, get as much of that in there as you can. Great. So now we've got our bag full of milk or heavy cream. Next, we're going to take a 4th cup, which for a lot of our cups is our smallest one. Actually, that's our smallest one inside of these. We're going to take our sugar. Take a 4th cup of sugar. Don't be like me and get really ambitious with your measuring when you were little and put in 2 or 3 of these. So we're going to do a 4th cup of sugar. That also goes into our bag. Okay. All right, so we've got both our sugar and our heavy cream or milk in there. Now we're going to take our teaspoons. So these are the smaller things. I always think they're the ones that look like spoons versus the cups. And we are going to find our 4th teaspoon. So that is our very small one. Sometimes it's our smallest one, but it's pretty close. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put in some vanilla. Okay, this is where you really might need some help pouring because it's pretty tiny. All right, so a 4th teaspoon vanilla right into our bag. Okay, so this is then where you get to kind of be a little fun and decide what you want to put in. If you want to put some chopped up mint, or you want to put some chocolate syrup, some chocolate chips, some different fruit, that's where you can mix that in here. I'm just going to leave mine vanilla for today. All right, so seal it up almost all the way, because before we completely close it, we're going to want to try and push all of that air, which is also a gas, out of our bag. So try to push a little bit of that out. There we go, as much as you can. Perfect. And we've got it in our little bag. Okay, so then we take our big bag. We're going to put our little bag inside. And we're going to get a very important item that I have forgotten to bring into my office today. But that's okay, because I bet most of you have this at home. We're going to grab 3 cups of ice. Doesn't matter what kind. It can be really big clumps. It can be small ones, as long as it covers most of the inside of this bag. So we want to make sure that we've got ice all around the entire side of this smaller bag. Then we're going to take our salt. We don't want this to go into the smaller bag. We just want it on the inside. And we're going to put a 1/4 cup of salt in there. So again, we're going to take our measuring cup and pour in a 1/4 cup salt. All right, it's quite a bit. And that's because we want to keep our ice as cold as possible for as long as possible, so that we can change the state of this ice cream. All right, so we'll pour that in there. And as soon as I'm done with this video, I'll go get some ice so that I can complete my ice cream too. But to show you all what you're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and finish this part with you. Okay, so just as we did with the little bag, close it most of the way, and then let out some of the air. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys fill up your ice, because I didn't do that, so I might be a little faster. So fill up your larger bag with some ice. Remember, in our smaller bag, we have 1 cup milk, or half and half, a 1/4 cup sugar, about a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and then if we wanted to add some other things like chocolate chips or chocolate syrup, we added those into our little bag, closed up our little bag, and put it inside of our big bag. All right, so once we have our bigger bag filled with ice, we've got our smaller bag inside, squeezed out the air, I'm going to go ahead and start shaking. All right, so be careful. Number 1 rule, because these bags will come back open. So go ahead and shake your bag with your ice inside of it. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Now, why are we probably doing this? Well, we want to make sure that the cold ice is touching all of our liquid. Remember, we said that in order to go from liquids, we're having to put more energy, we're having to take away some of the energy through our cold ice so that we can slow those particles down, because eventually we want our ice cream to be nice and solid. So go ahead and shake it a little bit, shake it in different circles, maybe dance around the room. This might be an example where parents, you could say your 3 states of matter, your gas, and we have to shake really fast, and then our liquid, and we have to shake it slow, and then solid, we have to stop shaking because our particles aren't moving. So go ahead and do that for a little bit. Usually instructions will say 5 to 8 minutes. I've found if it doesn't work after about 8 minutes, we throw it into the freezer, and that really helps. So if parents are kind of stuck and not able to get it to freeze quite right, that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. We just made a happy mistake, and we can put it in the freezer. All right, so once you get done, hopefully it'll look something like this. So I made this morning. I did put chocolate in there, so it's a little bit of a chocolate ice cream treat. Let me open it up so we can see inside that it's no longer liquid. I can't pour it out. It's all within that bag. See, I can even do that, and I'm not going to have it pour around. I can get my spoon right in there. See how I can scoop up my solid, and look at that. We've got solid chocolate ice cream. Pretty good trick to be able to do at home, and indeed, it's not even a trick, it's just science. All right. If there are any questions about kind of what we did there, feel free to put them down in the comments. That's what we've got for you today. Remember, there are 3 states of matter. We've got our solid, what we formed right here. We had our liquid, which was like our milk that we'd used, or our heavy cream. Whoops. And that's why we have paper towels around. And then we've got our gas, which is just like what we've got inside balloons or throughout our room, anything that we might consider air or some of those other things. Our particles move really slow or not at all in solid. They move a little bit slow, a little bit faster in liquid, and then really fast in our gas. All right, so then if we add different temperatures, we can move ourselves from different parts of these states of matter. If we add energy, we can move from a solid to a liquid or liquid to a gas. If we take away energy or make something colder, we can move it from a gas to a liquid. It's called condensation. Or we can move it from a liquid to a solid, such as freezing it, which is what we're ideally doing with our ice cream here today. All right, so I hope you enjoyed our first Facebook Live, 4-H Live online learning session. Please let us know if you have any questions, any feedback. We are just getting started. Like I said at the top of our episode, we are hoping to do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday until about May 15th. We really encourage you to share these posts with anyone who might be interested in some online learning. Tomorrow, we will be talking about engineering design and Rube Goldberg, seeing who he is and what we can do at home to do some different projects. On Thursday, we'll be making some sugar rock candy, which will be just like what we talked about today in using the scientific method. We'll be doing some different things, seeing what different results we get by changing some independent variables. Ooh, that's a good phrase. So if you want, you can experiment more at home with this project. You can change things in your ice cream, such as maybe changing from milk to heavy cream, or maybe you put less sugar in it next time, or try different ingredients, such as those chocolate chips or strawberries, and see what you get, see how that turns out. So, well, thank you all for joining us from Missouri 4-H. We are very excited to have you and so glad that you could be here today. Please let us know if you have any questions, and we are very excited and hopeful that you will join us again tomorrow. Thanks!